Today, we're going to talk about how you can avoid making your purity seals look like toilet paper.
That the entirety of the cosmos is accessible to each and every individual's mind, connected to the great mind, the great spirit.
Welcome back to the channel, collectors. It really is good to be back in the groove producing videos such as these so that we all get to become better miniature painters together. So before we go on to talk about today's topic, why don't you hit the like and subscribe button so you get to see more of such videos, as this is an ongoing series of how I painted my Primaries Captain from the Indomitors box set. So with that out of the way, let's talk about why some purity seals really just look like trash or toilet paper. So for today's topic, I've condensed everything down to 5 points of why I feel some purity seals don't look as good as they should be. So for point number 1, we're going to talk about painting the volumes accurately on the paper itself. Point number 2 would be to paint in different colors to break up the monotony of the purity seal. Point number 3 is to imagine that you are really writing a script and remembering how a document should look like. Point number 4, we're going to do some drawing just to break up the monotony. And point number 5, it would be to blend everything together. My recommendation for this is not to blend anything and keep the blending all the way to the end. So let's move on to the first point right now. So for the first point, we're going to portray the paper of the purity seal in volumes. So let's go. Alright, starting off with the base color, we're always going to put in the highlights. These are the faces that are facing the light, usually from the top. And I'm going to place some shadows after that. So these are the points that I try to emphasize when I'm painting a script. I know it kind of looks a bit bended here, but then trust me, once we're going to blend this down a little bit, just with a bit of blending here, you can see that this actually starts to look like a script. I find that a lot of painters just base coat and wash the purity seal without any concern about the folding and the form of the entire script. So this is something that I'd like to show, and I'm going to demonstrate it right now. Alright, so right here we have the base coat of green brown, and right here I'm going to be using grimy grey to place in the highlights as per what we've seen in just now's demonstration. Okay, right here, once you place the lights properly, you can really see that the script is starting to look more three-dimensional rather than just like a flat piece of paper. So I'm just doing this for all the purity seals before moving to the next stage. So in the next stage, we're going to place greater highlights here. I'm going to be using pure grimy grey, and I'm going to re-emphasize the points of where the scripts bend. These places usually are the apexes of the curves, and I'm going to do a little bit of edge highlighting to show the entire form. In the demonstration, I did a bit of shadowing, a bit of cast shadowing. However, I think in real life, I found that the shadows are really deep enough and could use a little bit of highlight. So this is the edge highlighting for the grimy grey, and I find this acceptable to move on to the next stage. So now that we've done the paper and it kind of portrays the volume, what next? We're going to use a variety of colors. Many purity seals out there tend to only use just black or dark browns, but we're going to spice it up. We're going to add in some reds and some other colors right there. So are you ready? Let's go. Alright, so the first thing I like to do is I like to use different colors in my writing. In the later stages, you can see me create some ideas that you can recreate on your own. However, for this stage, I'm just going to be using some reds, some blacks and some browns to mix it up on the script itself so that it doesn't just be one color and one text only. Okay, so moving on, I'm just going to be cleaning up the shapes using grimy grey. Later on, you can see some of these ideas and you can adapt them for your very own purity seals. I find that breaking the monotony is really helpful when painting purity seals. One of the points that I always notice when people do purity seals is somehow they are just always drawing straight lines. But why do we do that? We don't even write that way. Purity seals have to be like handwriting, and you should be some squiggles and some spaces in between. So you have to remember that purity seals fundamentally are just writing, and we have to write the same way. So let's see how to do that right now. This is particularly important because when you are writing a purity seal, you are just basically having a representation of writing. And when you are writing, things happen in paragraphs. They don't just happen randomly or in straight lines. So just remember, you can have it center justified or right justified. Even better, when you're writing sentences, remember you can add some upper cases. This is usually done after my first row of squiggles, and you can really break the monotony with this technique. Alright, so we're just going to add in the script here. I'm going to be using black and green brown, and I'm going to start creating the squiggle lines. So when you're just squiggling, just lightly tap and remember leave some spaces. I find that many times painters just draw straight lines and their words have no spaces in between. When you're seeing me do this, you can always see the regular spacing in between the lines, and after that I might go back with a thinner line to refine the paragraphing. Okay, so moving on right here, I'm going to be using a little bit of grimy grey. Usually I'm just doing this really thin down and really patchily. And this blurriness in between the lines actually helps to create the illusion that this is actually text. Everybody loves a picture book. I, for myself, can't read a book without pictures, honestly. So why do you put your viewers through the same suffering of just reading text? Add some pictures, add some small little drawings to spice things up. Let's go. Alright, in the previous segment you've already seen me do this, but here are some picture ideas that you can actually add onto your purity seal. So the first one is large capital letters. You can always do this in a square and having the symbol in between, or just paint up a really large capital letters. The next thing to do is to add in some signatures. Usually signatures are on documents, so I guess they'll be on purity seals too. Some other imperial symbols include the two-headed eagle and some skulls, just in case you want to spice up your purity seal just a little bit more. Honestly, there's no secret technique here. Just really need to get the paint consistency right and just try to have a representation of the drawing. I find that adding drawings into the purity seals really helps because it adds more weight to certain portions of the purity seal and it breaks the monotony of the entire illustration. So now that we've added all the detail, it's time to blend. I've seen many painters try to blend every single thing in every single step, and it's so time consuming and it becomes honestly very painful to produce. I like to just block in everything first and leave the blending to the end. I also find this method really useful because with the blending it really helps blur out the lines between the text and makes the text look a lot more believable. So want to see how I do it? Let's go! Alright, so here comes the blending part. Remember, only blend at the end. I'm going to be using Agrax Earthshade to add in the shadows. As mentioned on the first stage, we're going to add in some shadows, right? So this is how I'm going to do it. After placing on everything, I'm just going to put in the cast shadows using Agrax Earthshade. Next step, I'm going to be using Grimy Grey to pick out some of the little textures and details. These are the areas that actually catch up the light, and I'm going to be doing it in a scratching pattern, and this adds an additional dimension to the entire purity seal. And there we have it. This is my completed Primaris Captain with his very nicely painted purity seals. As you can see, there are a lot of details such as different colors, as well as the text looks as realistic as possible. Oh, you're still here. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you're still watching till now, I think that you might have found this video kinda useful, and if you did, remember, click the like and sub button because it really helps the channel and allows more people to see videos such as this. I'd like to thank you for watching all the way to the end. Head on to the Patreon if you want to. I'd like to thank all my Patreons once again for allowing me to do this, and I hope to see you in the next painting video. See you!